Hello Miracle Tribe. So this is going to be my live video on master number 22. So for this video I'm going to be showing or talking about the symbolism of 22, and then for life path, the traits, life purpose, inner gifts, challenges, how to develop or grow, common careers, and some famous 22 life paths. Also, if you're born on the 22nd of any month, you also share the gifts of the life path 22. So after I finish this video, I'm going to be putting in the timeline so you can skip to whatever category you would like to. So let's begin. So for 22 life paths, I'm going to be talking about the symbolism of 22. So I have like 4 that I want to mention, or 3. And so 22, it does have a metaphysical and scientific significance. So in basic mathematics, 22 represents the complete circle. And so just to put it, I'm going to say I don't know how to speak the math language. Numerology is completely different. So like in quotations, I put it is the lowest, 22 is the lowest whole number to the ratio of the circumference of a circle and its diameter. I don't know how to translate that to like a simpler, any simpler. So 22 colon 7, 22/7, it symbolizes as pi. So with 22, it represents precision, balance, completion, and it's at its full capacity to achieve almost anything impossible. And then one more is in tarot. So in tarot, there's 22 major arcana cards. So if you don't know tarot, there's like major cards, minor cards. So the major ones, there's 22 of them, and it represents all of the major life lessons or experiences and the circle of completion. So yeah, it's like complete fullness, whole. That's what 22 is in the big picture. Now moving on to the traits of 22 life path. So I listed they are dependable, honest, they make careful decisions, they're usually disciplined and pragmatic. They also have a capacity for responsibility that's almost limitless. And consequently, some people depend on them without thinking. It's like, because well, I'll explain further why, but they usually have a lot of knowledge and guidance to offer people, and like subconsciously you just ask these people for guidance. And I also put down they're ambitious, idealistic, they have high expectations, also tremendous energy, and they push themselves very hard. If there is a challenge, they rarely fail to accept it, especially if it's related to helping with human welfare. And then I also put confident, diplomatic. You might notice that like they have a lack of emotion on the outside, but emotional control it's fundamental to their purpose, because it's just to minimize like reactive behavior, reactive emotions when they're working on something. So they might appear detached or difficult to understand on the outside. They're usually cool and careful in like any areas that they execute, any like difficult or dangerous environments that they work in. They're just cool, grounded. But inside, they're actually very sensitive, highly intuitive, and they have unique abilities that combines like spiritual awareness with the practicality of 4. Then moving on to the purpose of Master 22, they're known as Master Teachers, Master Builders, creators of the future. And their mission is to follow a higher spiritual purpose and help humankind on a day-to-day basis. So the day-to-day is very practical spiritual work. And they also have exceptional potential to achieve material success and impossible goals. So it is really difficult to imitate this life path because they tend to accomplish faster. They also learn faster as well. On their journeys, they demonstrate a lot of strength, endurance, fortitude, and also destined for material success, like I mentioned earlier. Also destined to make significant contributions to humanity for day-to-day living. Like if they get involved in art, business, politics, or humanities, they usually excel in it. They are here to make their journey in small steps, with starting at the foundation, making it solid. And they're also here to see the whole picture that they're inspired by, as well as work on tiny details to make their decisions. So it's both seeing small details and the bigger picture. It's very powerful, seeing the full completion of any project. So there's two types of Master 22s. So there's the aware and the unaware. For the aware 22 Masters, they're making a difference and they're directing their energy to master their skills. And then the other 22s who are unaware, they could be lazy or indifferent to human suffering. Like, I just don't care, I'm just not interested to do anything for humanity. And they just end up becoming totally useless, like even worse than misfits. And with the double two, so you see 2 and 2, 2 itself has lessons about cooperation and balance. So with the 22 Masters, they have issues or lessons on inner balance and outside balance. So with inner balance, it's about, like, are they at peace? Are they at balance, cooperating with themselves? So that could mean, like, they're balancing their beliefs, values, their behavior, their patterns inside. And for the outside, what they need to learn about balance is, can they cooperate with others harmoniously? Can they respect their own boundaries and other people's boundaries? And are they balancing between giving and versus, like, self-care? Because sometimes they can just throw themselves all into a relationship and then just later completely withdraw because they feel like not appreciated enough for what they do. And then just a little more. So like the highest work that a 22 can do is to help humanity progress through steps, through stages towards enlightenment. And whatever they choose to do, hi Tegan, so whatever 22 Masters choose to do, if they are in tune with a positive mindset and they're in tune with their power, then they're making significant contributions for humanity in everyday life. So as they become a successful Masters, they can guide others to a brighter future by shedding light on other people's path. That's the highest for a 22 Master. Hi Sam. Then moving on to the gifts, the inner gifts, or the light side, the positive side of 22 Masters. So I have very many. They're in their light side when they are balancing idealism and practicality. So they could be practical geniuses. So whatever you can dream of, they can help you put that into reality. They're using their inspired vision to help others with everyday problems. So I'll mention it many times. They have the skill to help people with everyday problems, creating solutions for it. They also, on the positive, demonstrate leadership because they're usually called for advice or guidance, and they have the ability to help other people step towards the future. Also, another thing is that they're in the positive or in their light side when they are spending a lot of time in their studies, because they do crave knowledge. They're always going to be students for life, and they crave knowledge to continuously improve themselves, and it also makes them excellent guides, like equipped with knowledge. Like I mentioned before, it is very hard to duplicate a 22 life paths life. And so since they learn faster and achieve faster, it's kind of like they're just reacquainting themselves with past life achievements, just remembering. And so also at the same time as they are achieving, they are in their positive when they are present and they're thinking very clearly, and with that mindset they can accomplish anything. Another thing I listed is they are living centered, they're stable inside, and it creates internal harmony. That's the inner foundation. That's the foundation that they need to work on first, is in here. And also, they are in the positive if they're balancing between giving too much or giving too little, like knowing when to step back. And then the next thing I listed is having the ability to attract power on every level and making impossible dreams come into reality, like I've mentioned a few times before. So they can also, with their work, they have the potential to be recognized internationally with the work that they do. And the last thing I listed is they're in the positive when they're doing philanthropy. So they are like masters of the material world, but then when they use it to benefit humanity, they're doing it in the highest form of service, is to benefit humankind, their material accomplishments for that. Also at the same time, they're serving others to the point of feeling good instead of like draining their energy or their health. I've had like 2 previous mentors who are 22 life paths, and I was just amazed at the things that they've accomplished, and both were doctors, and they've even like built clinics, or they're also like authors, and they have like nice houses, and they've just accomplished a lot. Highly respected people, and it's just like they're living like 3-4 lifetimes of achievements in one life. So it's just very amazing to see what they can achieve. It's very extraordinary. The next are the challenges of 22 life paths. So I think I have like 6, 7 listed. So the first one is that many 22s recognize their strengths and put it to use. But there are few on the negative who are very drawn to materialism, and they take negative aspects of the number 4 life path, but worse. So whatever negative feeling a 22 feels, it is worse than a 4 life path. So like when going through like negative or issues or challenges or feeling stuck or frustrated, the 22, they can be the most depressed person in the room. And also I mentioned before that the unaware 22s, if they are indifferent about human suffering, they just end up being absolutely useless misfits, or end up in like a mental institute, because there's a lot going on in their minds, but they just need to be grounded. So, and on another challenge is to balance. So like throughout life, you're going to learn how to balance things inside and out. So there's a potential. So since they have such a potential to manifest extraordinary things, there's also an equal opposite to everything. That is a universal law. So with this extraordinary ability, there's also the potential to be extraordinarily useless. And then the next thing I listed is material greed. So 22s, they can be workhorses. So are 4 life paths. They can be obsessed with money, and they could just end up being very lonely from neglecting home life, personal life, love life, even their own health. And also they can be impatient and impulsive, and they could be making like decisions from impulsiveness that they later regret, like getting rich quick schemes. Also the next thing is they're on their negative side if they're pressuring themselves so much, like working so hard. And then also there's a stubbornness too. So like on the healthy side of 22s, they're very grounded, they're practical, they endure things, and they're very stable people who create significant security for themselves and others. But too much of it, that stubbornness, they can hold on a course for so long, and they'll repeat the same mistakes or get stuck in like rigid views, like, no, that's not how you do it, this is how things should be done, like that's the process of it, like you need to listen, it's my way or the highway. The next thing I listed for like challenges or like the shadow side of 22 is so nearly all 22s have really powerful analytical minds, and they have the ability to structure things very well, like creating systems, very organizational. But in excess, it could lead to compulsive worry or chronic stress. They could be near a verge of a crisis, have a mental breakdown or emotional outburst. And the last thing listed for challenges of a 22 is codependency, and that's from the number 2 in the life path. And 2s, like, the positive is they believe it that two heads are better than one, but sometimes, like, they could end up throwing all of themselves into a relationship, and they overgive to the point of sacrifice, or they drain their health, and then they end up cutting themselves off completely from that person, from feeling absolute resentment. So that codependency is also like, so just to define it, it's like excessive reliance on a partner where you can't really differentiate between your emotions and theirs, or your thoughts and theirs. So it's like the belief that, like, no, I need you and you need me, so let's just stick together, and like we're one person, and like I can't survive without you, like codependency. And the next thing I want to talk about, the next category, is how to grow and develop. So I have very many listed for the 22. So first one I have is always think big and seek out leaders and mentors who are going to open doors for you. Because the 22s are very idealistic. They also have high standards and big ambitions. And another thing to develop is balance. So balance between work and pleasure is vital. And there's a majority of advice. I have a majority of advice for 22s who are workhorses, a lot about how to approach work. So next one I have, all 22s are very fond of any form of art, music, dance, or rhythm, because there is structure and rhythm, but there's also flow to it. There's an equal balance of it. And as they get involved in art, dance, music, or rhythm, they're able to express, so they can balance both their emotions and also develop a more positive attitude with whatever they work with, because they really need that to work on really difficult projects. For example, like one of my mentors who's, it was in the past, she was a medical doctor who built clinics, designed clinics, and it's like, that's a huge project. You have to be relaxed and in a positive mindset to work with this successfully and stick to it, like commit to it. And also the next thing I have is for development for 22 life paths is throughout life, they can develop artistically to enhance their expression, to relax their body. So like the number one thing I have for both 4 and 22 life paths, the tip is to relax, because they are workhorses. They do a lot. It's very simple, but it might feel hard to you, and sometimes you work so much that you forget how to relax, but you deserve it. And as I've mentioned before, 22s can be very obsessed with material success, which can be detrimental to their home life. So relax. So one of the previous things I mentioned is, actually the few previous advice or tips I mentioned is, my point is to aim both the mind and emotion. So for example, like the logic or the rational mind with their intuition and their emotions. Balance for 22s. Otherwise, they're going to resort to extremes. So what I mean by extremes, what do they look like? They could be overwhelmed with responsibility if there's an issue, or they can go into denial, or they can ignore feedback or not acknowledge an issue, and then they just end up repeating the same mistakes, the same patterns, because they're like, I'm just going to stubbornly stick to this course. I'm not going to change things. I don't feel safe changing. So they need to practice self-compassion and have idealistic vision to make decisions. The next one I have for development for 22 life paths is, on their path towards great success, they are here to build and succeed through a process step by step. So enduring, they're here to be patient, to endure, to commit, to have the willingness to stick to a process from beginning to end. And once they do, they just know exactly how to succeed from the beginning to the end. They have that ability to like zoom in for details and zoom out for the big picture. And then I have like five more advice for development for 22 life paths. So if they are confused on a step, it does them very well to write down their ideas and then trusting their gut instincts to make decisions. The next one I have is they must be working without feeling constricted. Otherwise, they're going to end up frustrated and stay stuck on a method for too long. So adding some more flexibility to your mind. The next thing I have is that, so 22s being highly ambitious, it can also create blind spots when they're running into problems. So they must determine which steps to skip and which to redo to avoid that pattern. And once they learn very fast, the next like mistakes or issues, it just gets easier and easier to handle. So next one I have is no challenge is too great for 22 life path as long as they break it down. So like you've heard in the previous advice, like just a few seconds ago, like it's all about step-by-step process for their to achieve success that lasts past their lifetime. I have two more. They're also for 22 life paths, realize that you're never too old to learn anything new. So it's a lifelong pursuit for 22s to keep learning, like they're going to be students for life. And the last tip I have for how 22 can grow and develop is along their development. So they must be working with issues of cooperating with themselves and others. So actually this is summing all of my advice. So cooperating first with themselves inside, which is their inner foundation, and cooperating with others harmoniously. And they're also here to establish a strong future starting at the base, at the basics, at the very bottom, and also to achieve patiently through a step-by-step process, as well as allowing people to support you. So it's like mutual support. So that is it for development for 22 life paths. The next one I want to go on to is our careers for 22s. So they end up excelling in any field of interest, art, writing, medicine, politics, diplomacy. They're experts at creating efficient systems, a lot of very, very talented with technical works. They like to work with their hands and earth materials, and sometimes they just know how to intuitively fix things. So they would do really well to be in leadership positions in business or any cultural organizations, because like subconsciously a lot of people go to them to seek advice on what to do next for their future. And so a few I listed, 22s can be directors, authors, business executives, CEOs, a media executive, an architect, a public reformer, a benefactor. A benefactor is somebody who benefits like a humanitarian organization, donates money to charities, and also be a political organizer, because with the two itself, they're very diplomatic and tactful, and they have double that energy to be able to work in politics. And then, so the last one I listed is they would have deep satisfaction if they're using their like special gifts and special talents to support others in service. So that could be teaching and advising, because they have this powerful analytical mind to be able to support other people to succeed or to build something from beginning to end. So they become experts at what they do, the 22 life paths. Last thing I want to mention are some famous 22s. These are like the most rare life paths. So I listed the 14th Dalai Lama is a 22 life path, Clint Eastwood, Sir Richard Branson, Will Smith, Kim Kardashian, Tina Fey, and Chris Hemsworth. Okay, so that is it for 22 life paths, gifts, traits, purpose, challenges, how to develop, common careers. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any more questions, please let me know and comment below if you're a 22 life path and if this makes sense for you. Okay, so that is all, and you guys have a beautiful day, 22 masters. Bye.